So, I made a video about how we should all play our gaming backlogs, and I still definitely stand by my point on that video. So many of us have these huge backlogs that are full of some games that could be some of our favorite games of all time. Yes, that includes me. My backlog is massive, so I thought it'd be a good idea to make a series out of me playing games in my backlog. It also gives me an excuse to play these games because I'm always way too focused on making videos. So why not combine the two? I am a bloody genius. So here we are, fellas. Welcome to conquering my game backlog. Let's begin. We're starting off with a pretty big game, and technically I have already finished the first Death Stranding. I thought it was fucking horrible, but I did go into the game with a pretty negative mindset. I can't blame myself though, to be honest, with how Kojima fans make the bloke out to be the second coming of Christ. Kind of annoying, because he's not. If you don't know already, Death Stranding is a walking simulator where you deliver packages, and my dumbass was expecting so much more in my original playthrough, because, you know, it's Kojima. Whoa. I thought about giving the game a second chance, and I saw the director's cut had an upgrade button for people who owned the original already, and it was only £6, so I thought why not, and to be honest, I am actually enjoying the director's cut so far. I'm not enjoying it that much, but I don't hate it like the original. It's not even because of any changes, I think it's because I've gone in knowing what to expect this time, and I'm using this game as one of those games I can put on one of my monitors while I watch YouTube or a show or some shit, or even listen to some music on Spotify. It's quite relaxing. I also do really enjoy how the online is utilized, where you can see ladders and bridges that people have put down to help you travel through the world. I still fucking hate the BTs though. They are such a pace breaker, and I know they are kind of supposed to be there for that reason, but my god, they are fucking shit. I still don't like the story of the game at all. I find it so hard to care about any of these characters, and I don't know if it's because of ADHD or some shit, but all the cutscenes feel so dragged out and slow. In fact, there are 11 hours of cutscenes in the game. It got to a point near the end of the original where I started skipping them, but I want to try my absolute best to try and get invested in the story of the game this time. My fucking god, it's really hard. It's so fucking boring. Honestly though, who knows? I may end up loving the game in the future when I get much further into the director's cut, but we'll see. We will see. Learning to love Death Stranding. Future Proxidist upload, oh yeah. I've always found the Warhammer 40k universe really cool. In fact, I'm actually so excited for Warhammer 40k Dark Tides, the game being made by the fellas who made Vermintide 1 and 2, which are both bangers in on itself. But before Dark Tides comes out, I decided to check out Necromunda Hired Gun, and holy shit, wow, the game completely nails the aesthetic of the 40k universe. You can tell it was made by people who are definitely passionate about it, and I mean, they're just clearly talented as fuck in general in terms of modeling. Just looking at some of these weapons gives me an aneurysm at the idea of the process of modeling and texturing and animating these bad boys. I mean, some of the weapons I've made, I fucking struggle with them and they look like fucking Roblox guns. So I can't imagine how long these fucking took. The gunplay is absolutely meaty, as you would expect with weapons that look as chunky as this. And in general, it's one of those first-person shooters where you feel like you've snorted a load of cocaine. Everything is going at 1,000,000 miles per second. And all of this would be incredible if it wasn't so goddamn janky. Now, a bit of jank isn't too bad in games, but my god, it feels like there was just absolutely zero refinement put into the game. To be fair, I think it was made by a pretty smallish team, and with how good it looks, I doubt they had the time. Still though, it's ridiculously janky, from the takedown animations to the horrible UI, and even the movement and guns feel a bit janky too sometimes. Nothing beats how terrible the voice acting is though, my god.
How many of you are there? Go to hell! I'm in it. Damn!
Also, a lot of the enemies feel really fucking spongy. I really hate fighting these brute enemies. They fucking suck. Now, despite all of this though, I am having a good time playing this. Sure, it's jank a lot of the time, but when it works, It fucking works, let me tell you. And it's a good old time. Like a really fucking good time. I'm actually excited to play more of this. I mean, I'm kind of dreading the jank, but I'm excited to play more. I'm excited to see what the game has in store for me. Oh, there's also a loot system. I don't think they understand how loot systems work, and it's really fucking bad. Like, it's beyond terrible. Why is this even in the game? This one is a small one, but I've always had my eye on it. I just haven't played it until now. It's a game made by Hello Games, the fellas behind No Man's Sky, and it's a nice little game. It's nothing incredible, don't get me wrong, but it's a nice relaxing puzzle game with some nice exploration. You play as a little sock thing, and from what I've gathered, you go around reigniting the flames inside other sock fellas, which resurrects them. I think that's the plot. I'm gonna be honest, there's probably a deep meaning or some shit, but it all just goes over my head. Look at these little blue fellas! Some of these sock fellas are hidden around the world, and each one requires you to solve a puzzle in a little pocket dimension. Some of these puzzles stumped me, honestly. I am not good at puzzle games, okay? Don't judge me, I struggled with Portal 2. Not sure I have much else to say about this one. It's just a nice little indie game. I really like the atmosphere and just the general vibe of the game. It isn't a long game too, so that's a huge plus. It's always good when there's a short fucking indie game you can just blast through, you know? Really helps with playing backlog games. Okay, Wobbledogs is fucking awesome. I've actually been streaming this one quite a bit because I didn't think I would enjoy it that much, but my god, it's hilarious. I was gifted it by my girlfriend because she was obsessed with the game, but I didn't get it from just looking at it originally because I just saw it as another one of those management style games, and I've always hated those style of games. Well, maybe that isn't the case anymore, because after playing Wobbledogs, maybe I've just been playing some absolute shit ones, but this game is fucking great, that's all I'm trying to say. I'm enjoying this game a lot. The aim of the game is to just go against God and create some absolute abominations. That's horrifying! You do this by making your dogs mutate, and then when they've mutated enough, you breed them with another that has mutated in a completely different way. And, their kid usually comes out looking pretty funky. Oh, and the music that plays when you're breeding them. It's fucking awesome. Honestly, the entire soundtrack for the game is up there with some of the best. I love it so much. There's also quite a bit of customization, not for the dogs, but for the rooms they wobble around in. It's a lot of fun, and I can definitely see myself playing this more in the future, and I'll probably stream it a lot more. Ready or Not is fucking scary. Like, I'm not even joking, it might as well be a horror game. Not because of any monsters or anything like that, but because the stakes are extremely high constantly, so you're always on edge. Plus, the game is hard as fuck.
This one's a wash.
Ready or Not is a SWAT game, and your goal in the game is to go into places and neutralize threats, save hostages, and find meth or some shit. I don't really know. Gonna be honest, I never make it far enough to really know what's going on because some twat always shoots first. Ready or Not is a co-op game that I plan on playing with my friends at some point, but luckily you can play it in single player, which is what I usually do. In single player, you aren't alone, luckily. You have 3 AI partners who aren't actually as brain dead as you'd expect. They fucking play the game better than me half the time. I think enemies and hostages in the levels are completely randomized too, which definitely keeps things very fresh and honestly quite terrifying. Speaking of the maps though, they are extremely well made and densely packed with detail. The maps aren't that big, but I find myself getting lost in them constantly. Oh, and the gunplay is absolutely incredible. Like, I'm not even exaggerating when I say this is some of the nicest gunplay in any game.
This billing has expired.
Ready or Not is still in early access, and I cannot wait to see what else is in store for this game in the future. I love what Ready or Not has to show so far, although I bet I will still be shit when I play it in the future. I'm always going to be shit at this game. It's really fucking hard. Rayze is a very cool concept for a game. It's one of those speedrunning games where you have to get to the end of a level in the fastest way possible. You do this by clicking a bunch of neon boxes super fucking fast, and depending on which box you click, it changes which direction you go. So you have to think extremely strategically on your feet. You need to put those gamer reflexes to use. Sadly, I don't have them at all. I'm so shit at this game, it's unreal. For some reason, my mind absolutely shits itself in the moment. Like, I plan it all out before starting, then suddenly when I do start, I just forget that plan within a second, and I end up just slamming into a wall. This doesn't mean I don't like the game at all though. It's actually a lot of fun. Restarting a level is insanely snappy, so it never really feels frustrating constantly having to restart to try and beat the levels, which is literally the only goal I have. Listen, I cannot do this shit fast. I struggle as it is when it's going super slow, so I just want to beat these levels. I don't care if I get the lowest grade possible. I'm still proud of myself. This is another game that I streamed on my Twitch channel, so sorry that you can see my ugly ass mug in the footage. Now, I hate to be a downer, but this game is the definition of style over substance. The art style is absolutely outstanding. Making Alice in Wonderland fucking creepy is a genius idea because, not gonna lie, I always found it weirdly unnerving, so this art style is completely up my alley. Like seriously, there isn't a single thing that I can say bad about the art style. I love it so much, but my god, the gameplay really brings this one down. It's an action platforming game, and neither of these parts of the genre feel fleshed out. Combat just feels wonky and pretty shallow. Some enemies are such a fucking chore to fight because of it. Like this big dude who requires you to just keep blocking him or some shit. It's just not fun. The control scheme feels pretty overwhelming to memorize too. I think that might just be my problem though. Oh, and the lock-on camera sucks so much. It sometimes just has a mind of its own and freaks out locking onto enemies I don't want to lock onto. Platforming, on the other hand, is something that I'm not sure about. See, during my stream playing the game, I didn't realize you could jump more than twice, so I thought you had to be super precise with every jump you make, and I messed up a lot. I actually ended up rage quitting because of this one jump at the end. I'm definitely going to keep playing this game now that I know you can jump more than twice, because honestly, I can tolerate the janky ass combat because of the incredible art style. I love exploring these fucked up worlds. So Alice Madness returns? I hate you, but I also really want to like you. This game is literally just a UK pub simulator whenever someone mentions politics. Ah, British culture. It's so beautiful, isn't it? Paint the Town Red is a game where you, well, paint the town red in your enemy's blood. It's just a huge brawl in different areas where you have to pick up different items around the environment to literally murder everyone there. Like seriously, none of these Minecraft looking ass people are on your side. Sometimes they do fight each other though, and that's when I pretend that they're my friends. There are some modifiers you can turn on to spice up the game a bit, like this one that literally turns it into super hot. Oh, and did I mention the game is co-op? Just like with Ready or Not though, I don't have anyone to play it with. God fucking damn it. Why do I keep playing co-op games? I swear this wasn't an intentional gag. This is all just a coincidence. I don't even know where to begin with this one. The greatest penguin heist of all time is the greatest game of all time. It's one of those dog shit Unity games, but this one you play as a funny little penguin you can customize. There is quite a lot of customization too, which is surprising. As your spiffy little penguin, you perform silly little heists while committing mass genocide. It's such a stupid fucking game. I mean just look at it. Whenever you hit an enemy with the baseball bat, it makes that silly bonk sound. 10 out of 10. What can I say? Honestly, I should hate this game, but I do find it kind of funny. Just something about it, you know? It controls horribly, it looks like absolute shit, but it's weirdly fun. Plus, it's co-op. Oh, fuck's sake. Starting off this video with a real stinker. I fucking despise this game. I streamed the entire thing on Twitch and it was a miserable experience. The original Outlast is considered one of the best horror games of all time, for some reason. Listen, I really don't like hide-and-seek style horror games, so I didn't exactly go in with a good mindset, but I'll start with some positives. Outlast 2 has an incredible atmosphere, and it does psychological horror extremely well, especially in the school sections, but they do fuck this up later in the game somehow and turn these sections into the usual run and hide dog shit. So yeah, I really like Outlast 2 in quiet moments where you're just taking in the atmosphere. The game looks visually incredible, what can I say? That's literally the only positive thing I can say about this game. Now onto the things I fucking hated. The game is not subtle in the slightest with its gore and horror. Listen, I like gore in a horror game as much as the next guy, but a lake full of dead kids is just, yeah, I don't know, man. You also witness a fucking childbirth at the end of the game too, and I had to censor that shit with a funny image because I was worried I was gonna get banned. I was also worried about the immense amount of nudity too, but I think I managed to censor that shit pretty naturally. It's insanely repetitive too. It's all just try and solve some sort of puzzle or move something while an unkillable fucker stalks you. I know fucking Resident Evil 2 does that, and hell, so does The Evil Within to an extent, and I love those two games. But here's the difference. You have a gun in those games. You can stun the stalker by using your arsenal. I said this multiple times on stream, but I genuinely think Outlast 2 could be a sick survival horror game if you were able to get some sort of weaponry with very, very limited resources. I would love for it to handle similar to Resident Evil 7 too, because, you know, the fella in Outlast 2 isn't trained to use the weapons. He would reload slow and stuff, making you open to attackers, so you gotta make those bullets count. Sorry lads, I got a bit sidetracked there describing a better game. Now, this is a weird one to include because it's technically not even a game. It's actually a mod for Half-Life 2. But I mean, hey, it might as well be a game. It has achievements and shit, so yeah. Entropy Zero is a game set in the Half-Life universe where you play as the Combine, who, if you don't know, are the bad guys. It's always fun to play as the bad guys in games, and Entropy Zero does not disappoint. There's even snowy environments, for fuck's sake. These are always awesome. I only found out about this game recently because the sequel came out and I thought it looked cool, so I wanted to try them out. Yeah, that's literally the backstory. Okay, on to the actual game. It literally just plays like Half-Life 2. There are some new things here and there, and the UI is different too. It isn't a bad thing, because Half-Life 2 is an awesome game, so, you know, it's just epic on principle. At first, when I was playing through, I thought it was stupidly unbalanced though with the difficulty. Like, I was dying every 2 seconds. Turns out the game sent me in on the hardest difficulty, and I didn't even realize until like 4 missions in. I don't know if this was my own fault or not, but to be fair, it didn't ruin the experience. It was a short but sweet experience that took me about 2 hours to beat, and honestly, I am really excited to play the sequel. It might be in the next Backlog video, or if I like it enough, I might even make a full video about it. Who knows? This technically shouldn't be on my backlog because this is my 3rd copy of the game, and I already have the platinum on PlayStation, but come the fuck on, it's Spider-Man by Insomniac, and now it's on PC! Yes, I am one of those fucking cretins that is very willing to double dip, or in this case, triple dip, when a game comes to PC. I could probably spend hours upon hours just swinging around the visually stunning New York City, beating up fellas with the extremely satisfying and engaging combat. I'm nearing the end of the game on the PC port, so it'll soon be out of my backlog. To be honest, a lot of people have talked about this game so fucking much at this point. There's not really much I can add here, but here's a little hot take. I think the movement in Sunset Overdrive is better than it is in this game. Thank you, everybody. That's my hot take. On to the next game. This game is pretty good. Pumpkin Jack is the first game I played on my Steam Deck, which is weird, I know, but like, it had a tiny file size, so it took like no time to install on it. And it gave me an excuse to play the game. I'm glad I did though. Pumpkin Jack has you playing as, well, a pumpkin fella called Jack. It's in the fucking name. I think the game was heavily inspired by the PS1 classic Medieval, and I get that because it plays like a PS1 game too. That's not an insult, by the way. I really do like the simplicity. Everything about it is so simple, from the combat to the platforming. To be fair, the combat pissed me off a bit, although that might have just been a case of the good old mad cuz bad. I absolutely adore the art style of this game too. Everything just looks incredible. There are also these little cool sections where you decapitate yourself and solve little puzzles scuttling about as a head. It's just overall a good time. It's not a perfect game and it isn't exactly a long game either, but it was fun. Shit, I just realized that I should have played this in October. What the fuck am I doing? I'm not the biggest fan of Marvel. I should probably just make that clear right off the bat. I've seen almost all of the films, and I think at best the good films are like a 8 out of 10, and I can barely give many of them that rating. I love shit like Marvel's Spider-Man though by Insomniac Games, so I thought, hey, why not try out Marvel's Avengers? I'm not the biggest fan of the source material, sure, but it could be a fun time, right? I was wrong. I was so very, very wrong. I streamed the game on Twitch, which by the way I don't use anymore. I stream on YouTube now. Make sure to look out for my streams. I didn't get very far into the game before coming to the conclusion that it's, well, to put it lightly, a refined piece of shit. Like, the game is refined as fuck, it works very well, but holy shit, it's so fucking boring. I got to the point where you meet the Hulk and you get to play as him, and guess what? They somehow made playing as the Incredible Hulk a miserable experience. Somehow. I guess they had to nerf him if that PS2 game is anything to go by. You know, the one that was basically a prototype for the game Prototype. Damn, I miss Prototype. They should definitely remaster Prototype. It was so much fun. Oh, sorry, I got distracted talking about a better game. To be honest, I don't really want to play any more of this shite. I only got it for £2, so it's not really much of a loss anyway. On to the next game. Now this game absolutely slaps. Prodeus is another indie first-person boomer shooter, but don't let that put you off the game, because this one definitely stands out. The first thing standing out being the art style. I mean, just look at it. It looks absolutely incredible. I adore the mix of the retro pixel art style alongside 3D modeled environments. It's something that usually wouldn't work, but this shit was refined down to perfection, and it works so well. Every level within the game is an absolute treat to look at. It's bloody stupendous. I love it. Then there's the weaponry and gunplay. Now this part isn't anything that really stands out, but that's not a bad thing. All the weapons work and each one is very satisfying to use. It's good shit and I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. Now, what makes using the weaponry unique is the gore system. You can literally paint the levels red with the enemy's blood. I have no idea how these fuckers have so much blood inside of them. It's actually quite concerning. It is satisfying though, making them explode like blood pinatas. Prodeus also includes a really complex yet easy to use level editor, where you can make your own silly levels and publish them for others to play. And people have gone absolutely crazy with creativity with some of these levels. I haven't used the level editor myself yet, but I plan on attempting to make some levels in the future. But yeah, Prodeus is a good time and it's definitely worth playing the game for yourself. No, it's not because I'm biased because I backed the game on Kickstarter. Shut up! I really enjoyed Final Fantasy 15 when I played it years ago, which seems to be a pretty unpopular opinion. To be fair, I haven't really played much Final Fantasy. The only turn-based ones that I've played is 10 and 9, and I did not enjoy 10 at all. But I did really enjoy 9. I stopped playing it though for some reason. I should probably get back to that one. Well, I've never played the original Final Fantasy 7, and seeing that the remake for the game went for the Final Fantasy 15 styled combat approach, well, kinda, but not quite. I wanted to play it as soon as I could, without touching the original Final Fantasy VII. I'm a genius, I just want to let you all know that. The combat in Final Fantasy VII Remake is a really good time. Instead of it being just holding down one button with it being flashy as fuck like in 15, 7 Remake actually requires some thought. You have to charge up a bar to perform special attacks, magic spells, or use an item. And mid-fight, you can switch between each character on the fly. Also, you've probably noticed that there's none of my actual footage playing right now, and I just want to say it's not because I'm lazy as fuck. It's because I forgot to record any footage of the game. I know that's very stupid of me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know you all like silly little visual edits, so here's a smiling guinea pig as an apology. Now, with the combat being good and all and it reminding me of Final Fantasy 15, everything sounds good, right? Well, I haven't really been enjoying the game that much. Something about it feels like a slog to me and I'm not sure what it is. I don't really like the characters either. Well, actually I do like Cloud because he hardly ever talks, but every other character I find kind of insufferable at times. I am playing it in the English dub though, and usually in Japanese games, the English dub is fucking annoying, but I'm gonna keep using it anyway because I don't like reading. I'm up to chapter 9 currently, and the game is beginning to click with me a bit, but everything before that was pretty underwhelming, especially for that fucking price tag. Holy shit, Square Enix strikes again. Square Enix strikes again. Piece of shit company. Now, I don't know if you knew this, but I'm a huge fan of the Yakuza series. I've been trying to get through the entire series, starting from Yakuza 0. I also played 7 before 3, 4, 5, and 6. Don't know, but I guess that one does kind of stand on its own, so I have an excuse. Well, Yakuza 4 was easily the biggest roadblock for me when it comes to completing the franchise. Yeah, that's right, I enjoyed Yakuza 3 more than this game, and that one is considered the worst. Something about Yakuza 4 just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's a content-rich game with so much shit to do, but it feels fan-made. It's hard to describe, but if you've played it, all I need to say is rubber bullets. It's easily the most overwhelming game going into it, because instead of playing as 1 or 2 characters like in the previous Yakuza games, you instead play as 4 different characters, and I only find 2 of them fun to play as. I didn't like the boss fights either, and I didn't even care for the story that much, which is insane because it's a Yakuza game for fuck's sake. I remember taking a year break from this game about halfway through it, and only picking it up recently to finish it off. Also, yeah, that's why there's no footage for this one too. Sorry about that, fellas. Here's the smiling guinea pig again. Now, don't get me wrong, Yakuza 4 isn't a bad game. It's still worth playing, especially if you're wanting to get through the Yakuza franchise. I don't recommend skipping it, and hey, it gets you ready for the much more superior Yakuza 5, which I started recently, and my god, the difference is like night and day. Yakuza 4 is kind of a piece of shit, but I can't hate it because it's Yakuza. Also, look at that box art. It's stylish as fuck. Du -du -du, du -du. Du -du -du. Du -du -du. Okay, I'm gonna stop this shit now. Uncharted 4 is fucking awesome, which is weird to say because Uncharted 4 is a game that I just shouldn't enjoy personally. It has forced walking sections, it has a shit ton of cutscenes, and it focuses way more on its story rather than its gameplay for the most part. Yet, I don't know, I love it. Maybe it's because Nathan Drake is a funny, witty, likable character, and not a boring father to an annoying kid like in other Sony exclusive. Uncharted 4 recently came to PC, which is what I've been waiting for what feels like the longest time, because trying to play Uncharted with a controller, I just, honestly, fuck that. I cannot play any form of shooting game on a controller. Combat in Uncharted 4 is honestly incredible, especially with the grapple hook rope mechanic, letting you swing around shooting your gun at enemies. It's just good shit. Visually, the game is absolutely astounding too, just down to every single minute detail. They crammed so much unnecessary detail into this package. Like, look, Alima just stole Nathan's apple. They didn't need to include that. Maybe that explains why the game is over 100 fucking gigs. If I was to critique one thing about the game, I'm not the biggest fan of the climbing sections. It just feels way too restrictive and honestly pretty boring. But hey, it really doesn't bring the game down. Oh, and if we're gonna end on another positive, we cannot forget the set pieces. I fucking love these.
Go, climb. Gotta get up.
It's good shit, honestly. Everything about this is good shit. Oh, and don't tell anyone. Seriously, please don't tell anyone. Playing Uncharted 4 has made me quite excited to play The Last of Us when it comes to PC. Seriously, don't tell anyone. Oh, and I played Resident Evil Reverse. It's pretty wank. After a long wait, Crash 4 was finally put on Steam. If you didn't know, it was originally on this garbage launcher, so obviously I held off going near the game until it was put on something actually respectable. And as someone who didn't fully understand or enjoy the original Crash trilogy when I played it a few years ago on the Insane trilogy, I gotta say that I've had a lot of fun playing Crash Bandicoot 4. And that's because I'm not trying to 100% it. I did try and 100% some of the levels at the start of the game, but it just turned it into a massive slog. So I gave that up and just decided to beeline through the levels and just enjoy it. I mean, I guess sometimes I did still push myself to 100% some of the levels because that's how you get a lot of the skins in the game. And I wanted this neon skin because I like neon stuff. It also pleases my monkey brain. Now, Crash Bandicoot 4 is still definitely a challenge, even when you're just getting through the levels without much of a care about the boxes and collectibles. But it's not an infuriating challenge. It's like a nice challenge. The one where it's not the hardest thing you've ever done, but you still feel good for overcoming the obstacles. Crash 4 is visually outstanding too, but I've noticed this cartoony style is beginning to fall into a trend for other platformers too. It isn't really an issue though, because it looks outstanding. It's gonna age like fine wine, and it's infinitely better than going for a boring ass realistic graphic style. So yeah, Crash 4 is a great time, and I enjoyed playing it despite not being the biggest fan of the original Crash Bandicoot games. I'm never gonna come back to it though to 100% it, because I have seen Crysis' video on doing that, and I don't hate myself enough to put myself through that pain. Another Yakuza game down. This time, it was Yakuza 5. I'm slowly getting through this massive ass series. I'm actually already halfway through Yakuza 6 as of making this backlog video, so expect to see that one in the next episode. But enough about Yakuza 6, I should probably talk about 5 since that's the one I finished. And yeah, Yakuza 5 is a good game. Hopping into the game for the first time right after beating Yakuza 4 was amazing because it was such a huge jump in quality. However, I do feel like the game blows its load a little too early. In Yakuza 5, you play as 5 different characters. Yeah, fucking 5. It's a huge game, and the first character you play as is the man himself, Kazuma Kiryu. And he is absolutely pissed in this game and just so sick of absolutely everything going on around him. The game starts off so engaging, and then you finish Kiryu's section and it just kind of shits the bed. Now, this isn't me saying it's a shit show for the rest of the game, because it's definitely not. It just peaks far too early, making the rest of the game feel like a bit of a slog, because none of the other characters are as good as Kiryu in my opinion. I am really glad that they stopped doing the whole more than 3 playable characters after this game, because it kinda sucks starting from square one after every 4 chapters. Yakuza 5 is still a good game though, it just goes on for far too long, and I don't think I can see myself ever returning to it in the future. At the end of the day though, it's still a Yakuza game, so it's still worth absolutely every second of your time. If you haven't started the Yakuza series yet, what are you doing, man? Play that shit already. After this video, of course, don't go anywhere just yet. You gotta see the other games I finished in my backlog. This is very important. Yep, this is something new for this series. I completed a whopping 3 games in a trilogy rather than just 1. And that's mainly because the Crysis games are pretty short. Like, really short. You all know the silly little meme about whether or not your PC can run Crysis because of how visually demanding it used to be. I mean, look at it. I know it's the remastered version, but it's hard to believe that this game came out in 2008. Like I said, I know it's the remastered version that I'm showing here, but it's not like that it's visually enhanced that much anyway. Like, what could they really do to quote-unquote remaster this game? They even acknowledged the meme in an achievement for the second game. Well, unfortunately, my PC could run Crysis, which is an issue because it meant I could experience the game, and let me tell you, it was boring. Crysis 1 is basically Far Cry. It's a somewhat open world game in a tropical setting. I mean, this comparison makes sense because Crytek were the original developers for the original Far Cry. In Crysis, you play as this super soldier guy with cloaking and shielding abilities, and because it's one of those choose your way to tackle situations type of game, either using combat or stealth, it means no combat section is really thought out, and they're all just kinda dull. Well, apart from the set piece sections, but they all boil down to the same shit as well, unfortunately. I just didn't really have a good time with the first Crysis. I did end up having a better time with Crysis 2 though. Rather than it feeling like a game trying to be something else, Crysis 2 felt like the series had finally found out what it was trying to be. It's a far more linear experience with a lot of the same mechanics, but I mean, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's a bit longer than the original Crysis 2, despite it being far more linear, but it felt like they started to run out of steam a bit near the end, and it just becomes a bit of a slog, unfortunately. It's still an absolute looker though. I mean, just look at it. They somehow managed to get this to run on a PS3, by the way. And then finally, there's Crysis 3. It's literally just both of the games combined, and now there's a bow weapon. I don't really have much else to say about that one. So in my last episode of this silly Backlog series, you may have remembered that I played Uncharted 4. I played it on the PC version, which also came with this Uncharted game. And you know what? I may actually prefer this one to Uncharted 4, but only by a little bit. Like, it's so close that depending on how I'm feeling on a certain day, my favorite one out of these two will probably change. Anyway, I'm gonna talk about Lost Legacy now. It's fucking awesome. Now, I went in with pretty low expectations because Lost Legacy has you playing as Chloe Fraser rather than the beautiful, charismatic hunk of a man, Nathan Drake. But damn, Chloe is a really awesome character. I know it's not because she's British. Now, don't get me wrong, I still prefer Nathan Drake, but Chloe is still a brilliant character in cutscenes and with her dialogue during gameplay. I love her relationship with Nadine, who was actually a villain in Uncharted 4. Ooh, what a twist. The general gameplay loop is very similar to Uncharted 4. It's very obvious this was a lower budget spin-off style game where they could get away with experimenting a bit more, like with the little open world section near the beginning of the game. Now, I hate open worlds, but I loved exploring this area because it wasn't an empty, barren wasteland that was huge for absolutely little to no reason like most open worlds. Around almost every corner there was something to find, something for Chloe to comment on, and all sorts of collectibles. The rest of the game does follow the same Uncharted formula with its bombastic set pieces, but this section was a massive breath of fresh air. It made you feel like an actual adventurer without having your hand held and being told what you're allowed to do on your adventure by the developers. You truly are just set free into this place with a vehicle to do whatever. There's no mini-map, there's no markers you have to follow, you just need to look around the environment and take it all in. It's genuinely such good shit. I had an incredibly good time with Uncharted Lost Legacy, but I almost dropped the game entirely because of this one puzzle. Fuck this puzzle. I hate it. I genuinely hate this shit.